Hey everybody, welcome to your readings for the week. These are the readings for the week ending November 19th. I'm a little sick this week, so I'm not sure how great these readings are going to be honest with you, but I decided that I'm going to give it my best shot. We're going to put it that way. So they may not be the greatest, but at least hopefully I can give you something. So we're going to go ahead and we got all kinds of stuff going on this week astrologically. We're going to start with Darcy. Hi, Darcy. Um, we continue to have Uranus in Taurus, still retrograde. We're gonna have Uranus in Taurus for a few years, to be honest with you. Still squared with Saturn, which is focused on self. Uranus is focused on how you think, and continues to be in a T square with the Sun, Mercury, and Venus, which are all in Scorpio. And I do believe we're moving out of that being a problem by the end of the week. We are going to move out of that being a problem by the end of the week. So the Sun, Mercury, and Venus are going to move out of that T square. So it'll just be a square between Uranus and Saturn again, like it was, and not necessarily such a big huge challenge. But basically it'll be present for most of the week, and we move out pretty much at the end of the week, kind of a thing. With all that being said, it's interesting that focus is on how you think. And Saturn's position is on self, and all the other planets in Scorpio are focused on long-term goals. I kind of take from this in many ways as a reminder that your responsibilities to yourself are what you need to focus on in terms of making your long-term goals, if that makes sense. And the reason why I'm saying this and the reason why it's so important is because I feel like there have been instances in the past, we'll just say, where maybe you had not focused on your needs in terms of your long-term goals. Maybe even there's instances where you did not make specific long-term goals because it would be inconvenient for another person. So I really feel like this week it's sort of it as much as it creates a challenge, all of these, the way that these planets are lining up, challenges always bring some of the best lessons, and this lesson in particular is about you and self-sacrificing, and whether you're going to do that this time or whether you are going to not self-sacrifice and instead really put you first this time, if that makes sense. The moon actually moves into Leo this week, and this creates a grand cross. Last week, it would be last week for you as you're listening to this, but for me, it was a few days ago this week when the full moon was in Taurus. Man, what a day that was. Okay. And I sat here and was like, wait a minute, the moon's, oh, of course, because it's lining up with that Saturn square, and that Saturn square, of course, is affecting me being an Aquarius. So yeah, I hope it was better for you. It was for me. That was like one hell of a morning, let me tell you. The moon moving into Leo about Tuesday, causing this grand cross. Grand crosses are so difficult. Luckily this is only for about a day, but grand crosses are so difficult, especially when it's fixed. Meaning that all the planets are in fixed signs. It sort of feels like nothing is happening. Nothing is moving forward. You're just kind of stuck in limbo. And Leo's focus is on relationships. And this is where it gets interesting. I feel like, that being said, in terms of your goals and not allowing other people to hold you back in terms of making these goals. This sort of plays out to be that one person that you know is going to be a problem, standing there being a flippin' problem, and quite possibly even emotionally manipulating you into doing things their way, because you're just a bad person if you don't, which I'm sorry is a load of crap. Okay, you're not a bad person. I don't think you ever could be a bad person. That's their problem and not yours. I'm going to put it that way. So in terms of your goals, it's really important to stay focused on what is important to you, what you need to do for you, what your responsibility is to you, and not necessarily spend so much time taking other people into consideration, if that makes sense, especially if they have nothing to do with it, which I kind of feel is the case in this particular situation. The other thing that I feel is coming up around you this week is the word chaos is coming up there a little bit. And so I feel like, especially at the beginning of the week around that Grand Cross, and with the T-square that's happening outside of that, pardon me, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, that came out of nowhere. I kind of just feel that everything's going to be kind of chaotic the first couple of days of the week, and it may very mimicking what I went through last week, if that makes sense. And in all honesty, that's going to be very stressful. The more you ground and bubble, the better. Breathing exercises are good. But whatever you need to do to remain focused on what's most important for you, I think is really what we're looking at. The more you do that, the better focused you'll be, even around the chaos, if that makes sense. So that's what I have for you, Darcy. And I'm going to move on to Connie. So we have the moon coming into Leo. I have tea. Oh, my throat feels so dry and scratchy and annoying. And as soon as this video is over, I'm not opening my mouth for the rest of the day. And for anybody who knows me very well, they're going to laugh at that, because obviously that's really hard for me to do, but that's okay. mm. We have the moon coming into Taurus this week. And Taurus. Okay, let me focus, because obviously multitasking isn't working for me today. The moon's coming into Leo this week. The moon was in Taurus last week, and that was a pain in the ass. Okay, now we're moving on to the moon being in Leo, which is going to be another pain in the ass, because there are planets in all three of the other fixed signs. So me being the opposite sign to you, that makes it a pain in the ass for me too. So if it makes you feel any better, it's a pain in the ass for both of us together. This creates what's called a grand cross. And so basically all these planets are squared with each other. They're in opposition with each other. When you have a fixed grand cross, because all these planets are in fixed signs, that makes things difficult. Fixed signs don't, it just sort of feels like nothing is happening, like you're working towards something, and no matter how hard you try to get it to move forward, it's just not working. Luckily, this is a day, especially for you, because it's the moon that comes in and leaves for you, so that's good. And this is around Tuesday, so there's going to be some challenges there. You may find this playing out for you that day, in terms of your clientele. It just seems like one appointment after another that you kind of just have to push your way through. It's like things are just not running smoothly. So that's one thing that's coming up for you. The other thing is I kind of see some, to say it this way, but it is what it is. I do see some difficulties coming up within the family, but I see them actually playing out very differently than they normally do. And how that is, I couldn't necessarily say. We'll just go with we just talked yesterday and you had a very good time with your dad, even though there were some challenges there. It was still a good visit, I guess. I think you're going to see your dad standing up for you more than just what he did yesterday, which is the day before I recorded this. We'll put it that way. And I feel like it's other people that are bringing this up, and so it gives you another opportunity for you to really kind of see him sort of stand up and put the kibosh on that, if that makes sense. And I think that you're also going to have an opportunity of seeing certain people being really pissed off about that, which, if you were to enjoy that, I wouldn't put it past you. I wouldn't say that was a bad thing or anything like that. In fact, I'd enjoy the hell out of it, to be honest with you. So I kind of see that coming up. This is coming up around, I want to say, disagreements amongst family members about the things in the house maybe that need to be moved out, about people over there doing the work, about the house being sold, none of which has anything to do with you. I just feel like you're going to get roped into it, if that makes sense. I also would not put it past your little brother to start changing the way he approaches you, if that makes sense, because these changes have taken place with your dad too. So all good things. And honestly, that's what I got for you this week. These readings are just not going to be as good this week, unfortunately. I am sorry about that, but as soon as they're done, I'm sleeping for the rest of today. Just an FYI. So that's what I have for you, Connie. I am going to move on to Jenny. Hi, Jenny. So I'm a little bit sick right now. I'm sorry if these readings are not as good as they normally are. No planets in Leo, and focuses on relationships until Tuesday when the moon moves in. And when the moon moves in on Tuesday, it moves into a fixed grand cross. Actually, it creates the fixed grand cross. Let me blow my nose here really quick. I can't stand it when I'm talking and I feel it all moving around in there. It makes me crazy. And now my nose is shiny. Oh well. It creates a fixed grand cross as it moves into opposition with Saturn, which is in Aquarius. That's me. And we also continue to have Uranus and Taurus, another fixed sign. We have the Sun, Mercury, and Venus in Scorpio, just about to leave Scorpio, but not fast enough, unfortunately. So fixed grand crosses are major challenges. When you have a fixed grand cross, it just feels like nothing is getting done. Like it can't move forward in anything. No matter how well you do it, you're always waiting on somebody else for something, and it creates challenges in some way. I actually am pardon me, I'm seeing this sort of playing out as you being the middleman. Oh, sorry. As you being the middleman in between like a client and the IRS or something like that. Oh, I'm so sorry. And it's like You talk to the client, they have concerns, you call the IRS, you go, okay, I have answers for all those concerns. You call the client back and they go, well, wait, one more question. I'm sorry, I forgot to put on the list before. It's just like this back and forth thing. Two things come up with this. One, first of all, if this is something that they should be doing themselves, you should be kicking it to them. You got more questions, you want to talk to the IRS, here's the number. Have fun with that, right? That's number one. Number two, I kind of feel like there's more than one of these. So it's like a series of things that you just can't get finished in that day, unfortunately. Don't sweat it. Tomorrow is another day, and things are going to be so much easier the next day when the moon moves out of this problem. It'll still be in Leo, but it won't have the same effect that it does when it's in Leo. It will have a much different effect. It'll still, in some cases, be in opposition with Saturn, which Saturn is all about self and your responsibility to yourself. And this sort of plays into that scenario that I just described in terms of being the middleman between two people or in a conversation between two people. Your responsibility to you is to not put yourself in that position as much as you can. I mean, obviously, I know that there are instances where you don't have control over that. But I feel like as you get into the next day, you're like, oh, hell no, I ain't doing that kind of crap again. So, because this is a responsibility to yourself, you don't have time to waste on something that really has nothing to do with you. It's somebody else's responsibility, basically, is what it comes down to. As we move out of that and the moon moves out of there, things are going to calm way the hell down. And I do see at the end of the week an opportunity. I want to say either this is you reconnecting with somebody that you haven't talked to in a long time, so like an old friend, or there's an opportunity to spend time with somebody that you just really haven't had a lot of time to spend with. And this is a good opportunity. I'm not seeing a challenging relationship. I'm seeing something that you really looking forward to this. So challenges at the beginning of the week, it's all over by the end of the week. You can have a beer and kind of sort of celebrate and just really have a good time. That's basically what that comes down to, and take some. Sorry about that. Let me go ahead and gotta get that fixed. I'm good. So hopefully you can hear me. Yes, my microphone is working. So yes, and what I was gonna say was, and of course you got to get ready for your holiday adventures that are coming up the following week. So a little bit sticky there for a minute, but pretty much a pretty smooth week after that. So that's what I have for you, Jenny. Keep yourself healthy. It's no fun being sick on the holiday, I can tell you that. I'm glad to at least have this now, so I don't have to deal with it all the holiday, right? Okay, we're gonna move on to Linda, my Virgo, my other Virgo, because I have two Virgos now on the list. Focus is on relationships and finances. We do continue to have Ceres influence in there, and we will have the moon's influence moving into your sign Thursday and Friday. And that's not really that big of a deal. But I will say that the moon's focus when she comes into your sign is on relationships. And I do feel with the moon being, yes, I'm a little sick, sorry. With the moon being an emotional influence, I do see the possibility of, I'm going to sneeze. Woo! Woo! Sorry about that. So sorry about that. I do see the possibility of some emotional challenges within one of your relationships. And I don't want to say that I don't see this as a fight with somebody necessarily, or a disagreement with somebody. It's more like I kind of get the feeling that it has more to do with somebody just not being as present as they should be, or need to be for you in this particular instance that you're going through. And two things come up with that. Of course, a lot of times we tend to go to the nobody loves me place. Not to say that you do that, but I think we all do it, to a certain extent. um it's really important to kind of take yourself out of that emotional space to really understand where they're coming from. For instance, if it's one of your daughters and you get news that they're not going to be there for the holiday, it's very easy to take that personally, and you just have to step out of that and realize that there's a very good reason for it, even if they should do everything they can to be there for whatever reason you give, because I'm sure it's a valid one. um but I do see this as really they did everything they possibly could, and it just isn't in the cards, if that makes sense, for them. I have a sneaking suspicion that this has more to do with another individual around them and not necessarily them. So it kind of is out of their control. The moon is going to move into a T square, which is a pretty big challenge on Friday, with Mars, which is focused on those you love, as well as Jupiter and Neptune. Jupiter and Neptune, there's kind of a split focus there. It's focused on self as well as focused on the past. And so this news that you may not want to get, um, sort of points us in the direction of what that could be. It involves people that you love, so it involves your family. This may be something that has happened before, so it's very easy to sort of look at this as, okay, as usual, so and so, can't seem to get their crap together, kind of thing. And with the focus on self, I really feel that this has everything to do um with processing feelings that are from the past. So they don't have anything to do with the individual. For instance, for example, when you don't have somebody following through to be there with you when you need them, it does trigger abandonment issues, or it triggers past trauma issues. And that's kind of one of those things that happens. And it's really also important for you to separate the past trauma with what's actually going on right now, if that makes sense, so that you're not putting more into the situation than is actually really there. If there is a cycle with this person, you absolutely have the right to say something about it, of course, and to express your feelings. Whether or not they take it well, that's a different matter. But you do have the right to express your feelings. Just make sure you're expressing your feelings about this situation and not letting anything else influence that. So that is what I have for you this week. I'm going to move on to my Matalyn, my little Maddie Boo, who just landed on this list for the first time. The focus is on relationships with a little bit of focus on finance, but the moon comes into Virgo on Thursday and Friday, and that's going to create a little bit of a challenge there, specifically on Friday. Let me blow my nose. I'm sorry. No one I know wants to see this, but I just sneezed twice. And yes, I'm sick. No, I'm not happy about it. Is what it is. I also left all my makeup brushes at home, so that's I have like half the makeup ones. Awesome. Okay. Focus is on relationships, and the moon is a pretty emotional influence. Moving into a T-square, which is a pretty big challenge with Jupiter and Neptune both in Pisces. Neptune's focus is on self, Jupiter's focus is on the past, both are retrograde. We also have not Saturn, Mars in Gemini, which is focused on those you love. It's focused on family, or people that you're very, very, very close to. Two things sort of come up for me with this, because all of the planets are retrograde, obviously, except for the moon. That sort of it gives you the feeling that as you're trying to move forward, you're pushing to move forward in something, and it's just not working. So it's sort of one of those things that reminds us that trying to force something to happen never works. Okay, the more you force it, the less you're actually getting anything out of it, if that makes sense. Also, Jupiter is all about growth, and so when it's retrograde, it sort of stunts that growth a little bit. Now I kind of have this feeling, because I see this as, yes, it could have to do with other individuals, but I think this is more about you and what you're doing. I kind of have this feeling, okay, that you have been in a lot of situations lately where you're just not sure what to do. You maybe need to make a decision, you're not sure which decision to make. There's like a million other influences that around you that could be distractions that are not making this easier. I know you have a boyfriend. We all know you have a boyfriend, and I know that a lot of times, you want to take that person into consideration when you're making decisions, of course. And I would not advise you against that. That's what Uncle and I have always done. We make all decisions together. However, there are certain things that I need to make these decisions for myself, and Uncle doesn't really have anything to do with that. So and this is one of those situations. I feel like you're going to need to make a decision. You're not really able to get help from your parents necessarily. You're not really able to get help from anybody else. This is a decision that you need to make, and it's probably one of your first big adult decisions that you need to make. But you have to make the decision that works best for you, not necessarily everybody else. You don't want to make a decision that hurts everybody else, no, but and that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that when this comes up, and I feel like it has a lot to do with your schedule, your school schedule, you need to do what's best for you in this particular instance. I also feel that I don't want to say this on these public readings. We do need to talk. You and I, we do need to talk. And I think I tried to text you that I didn't hear back from you. So please text me. We do need to talk. There's certain things I think that we need to talk about that are not appropriate for this public forum, okay, where everybody can see it and hear it, that are more private between you and I. Okay, we'll put it that way. But I will just say this, okay? In terms of forcing things, when people around you that are very close to you are doing things that you don't necessarily agree with or you don't necessarily like, I'm just gonna say that the more negative things you have to say about it, the worse it gets. So I'm not saying you don't deserve to have an opinion, because you do deserve to have an opinion. What I am saying is that when you've communicated your feelings to somebody and nothing has happened, you need to reword what you're saying. So if you've communicated in a certain way and nothing has happened, you need to sort of reword, or maybe even the way that I kind of look at it is, the person needs to feel what you're saying, and not hear what you're saying. So you have to word it in a way where they feel what you're saying, and your timing on when you say it is also everything. For example, when you are talking to somebody who's drunk about their drinking, they're never going to get it. You have to talk to them when they're sober, kind of a thing. So that's what I have for you, Maddie. I'm sorry. Your next week's reading will probably be a lot better when I'm not feeling so icky sicky. And yes, it's probably all Daniel's fault. So we'll just go ahead and blame it on him. So that's what I have for you. And I am gonna move on to Theresa, my friend Theresa, my Libra Theresa Demarco. How are you doing, Theresa? The moon's going to come into your sign right at the end of the week, focuses on finances this week. When the moon moves into your sign and moves into opposition with Jupiter, Jupiter is retrograde. Jupiter is all about growth and expansion, so that retrograde sort of slows that growth down a little bit. And this kind of tells me that in terms of finances, things maybe coming up a lot, that there's something that you want to put money towards, and it's like every time you think you have the damn money, something else comes up. Dude, that's been my life story for like the past month or so. I'm so sorry. I need to blow my nose again because I just can't stand talking with it all moving around. Ugh. I managed to get through the whole horoscopes without doing any of that. But we're not gonna get through these readings without that, and that's okay. It's frustrating. Okay, it's not the end of the world, but it is frustrating. Though I do see that as being a possibility. The moon's grand trine with Pluto and the sun is helpful. However, Pluto is focused on your inner self, your inner emotions, the kind of stuff that you keep to yourself. We don't necessarily share with other people. The sun's influence is very much on long-term goals. I feel like this disappointment, um, rather than wallowing in the disappointment, would be a good idea to turn that energy in another direction, maybe towards goals that promote a little bit more money coming in, so that you have this problem less than you do now. Although the way the economy is going, my husband and I make more money than we've ever made in our whole adult lives, and it still doesn't seem to be enough ever. But we don't really want to focus our energy on that either. The more you focus your energy on that, the more unmotivated you're going to get. So let's not do that. But I feel like it's really important to take that disappointment and move that into something that's a little bit more positive, so that you don't find yourself falling into that sort of rabbit hole, if that makes sense. Outside of the end of the week with the moon coming into your sign, I kind of feel like things are fluid is the word that's coming up, which means to me that things are moving in the direction that they need to be moving. It's just a little bit of a wrench there at the end of the week. So that's what I have for you, Theresa. I'm sorry, this could be a much more exciting reading. I'm just not feeling great today. I'm gonna go ahead and take a little break, actually, get the rest of this crap out of my nose, and then come back to Regina's reading. So I will be right back. Okay, moving on to Regina, my resident Scorpio. So we have basically, this is our last week. This lip gloss sucks. It's making these weird things on my lips. I don't like it. This is our not our last week for the sun to be in Scorpio, but this is the last week for the sun to be in opposition with Uranus and in a T-square with Saturn as well. And unfortunately, at the beginning of the week, when the moon moves into Leo about Tuesday, this becomes a grand cross. And a grand cross is a major challenge that is a total pain in the butt. And I'm so sorry, I'm sick and I'm probably going to sneeze any minute. Let me just get prepared. Okay. Um, it's a big challenge, especially when it's fixed, because when we have a grand cross with all the fixed signs, it just feels like nothing is happening. You're trying to make something happen and it's just not happening. And that's it kind of sucks, to be honest with you. I'm a fixed sign too, so every time this has happened, I've been involved. In fact, I've been involved the whole time, honestly, because Saturn is in Aquarius and has been there for 2 years. Oddly enough, moved in March of 2020, if you can see the irony in that. So this is going to be a bit of a challenge. Luckily for you, it ends at the end of the week. So yay for that. Focus is on long-term goals and career to a certain extent, your long-term career goals. And so I feel how this challenge really is going to play out for you is there's a couple of things that are going to come out of it. Challenges are bad. We don't like to deal with challenges, but the best lessons come from the biggest challenges. And so that's why we have to have them. Unfortunately, we're not going to learn when everything is good. We always learn when things are not so great, right? So I feel like there may be a lot of chaos, specifically around where you work. There may be decisions that you're waiting on this week that just seem like they're taking forever. This Grand Cross is going to have something to do with that. As we get towards the end of the week and the moon moves out of that position, number one, and we start to lose Mercury and Venus as well as being influences in that, things will start to calm down and start to move forward again. So if there's any kind of issues that are coming up this week where things are just not moving along like they should be, that will change hopefully by the end of the week. The good news is that all three planets that currently are in Scorpio this week, Venus, Mercury, and the Sun, are also all moving into a grand sextile with Jupiter, Neptune, and Pluto. It's kind of crazy. You're almost interacting with every planet in the zodiac. Not exactly all of them. I think Mars is really the only one that you're not interacting with this week. So that's a lot of stuff, right? It could be very tiring. Self-care is very important when you can manage it. In fact, it's self-care is part of this challenge. And I think that's one of the things that's coming up is making sure that you take the responsibility for yourself and your own self-care, making sure that you're not relying on others to make sure that they're taking care of you. That's never a good idea because people don't always act like we expect them to act, even if they did act that way before. And in many cases in certain relationships we keep hoping that people do certain things and it just doesn't work out that way, unfortunately. So your self-care is your responsibility. You need to make sure that that is part of your schedule. In terms of this grand sextile, Jupiter and Neptune's focus is on the past. Pluto's focus is on our inner closet, sort of that inner trauma place that we keep all of that trauma and just kind of sort of bury it down and hope it never comes up. And you being a Scorpio, it's probably buried all the way down to your toes, because Scorpios definitely are better secret keepers than anybody else. At the same time, this aspect is showing you how your past traumas actually work in your favor. I was kind of talking about this in the horoscopes for next week because I just recorded those. In all honesty, I had a very traumatic upbringing with some very traumatic, very abusive people, lots of narcissists in my life, so many of them. Um, when it comes down to it, I'm very grateful for that. And the reason I'm grateful for that, there's a multitude of different reasons, but the main reason is it's very easy for me to read people. And when I feel that narcissism around a person, I tend to exit the situation and not deal with it. And I definitely don't play into their game. And I feel like this is really important for you because you've had these experiences yourself, and we can very easily take it to the point of why do I always have to deal with these types of people? Or you can take it in the direction of, well, I know exactly how to deal with these people, and I know exactly how to keep myself from being a victim of this person. And that's where your past trauma actually works in your favor. It's actually very helpful because you have had that experience and don't necessarily need to repeat it. I think it's when we avoid learning from these experiences that we place ourselves in the front line to be victims of these types of people over and over again. And I really feel that this is not necessarily something that you're going through. I want to say that you've really learned from these lessons. And so, in order to prove to yourself that you learn these lessons, when these situations come up, you know what to do. We'll just put it that way. Also, the term too good to be true is coming up. When something seems too good to be true, it probably is. So you do want to look further into it. So that is what I have for you this week. I'm sorry that it wasn't a better reading. Unfortunately, I'm just not feeling well today. It's not COVID though, so that's good. Moving on to Theresa Sheppard. Hi, Theresa. I'm a little sick today. I apologize. Um, we have a couple of things going on. So this is really the last week of the Sun, Mercury, and Venus being in a T square with Saturn and Uranus. That has been a thing for the past few weeks. It is ending, but not until the very end of this week, unfortunately. This is also the last full week of Scorpio season before we move on out of Scorpio season. When all the planets, all these planets are in your sign and they're interacting with other planets in a difficult way, it really is no fun. It's a party with a lot of drama is what it is. And that's never good. It's never fun at all. So it's actually a little bit happier that they were getting rid of the planets, it makes it a little bit easier, especially because right before that happened, the moon's going to move into Leo. Now there's planets. When the moon moves into Leo, that indicates planets in all four fixed signs, which creates a pretty major challenge. Actually, we call it a grand cross, and in all the fixed signs, when you have a grand cross, which is going to last a day or two, Tuesday and Wednesday, fixed grand crosses, it just feels like everything that you're trying to get done is just delayed, 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 delayed. There's nothing but delays. It's really annoying and frustrating um to have to deal with that. However, we're talking for a couple of days. So hopefully whatever it is that you're waiting on, I'm seeing that sort of rectifying and things moving forward a little bit more once we get out of that big aspect. The good news is the Sun, Mercury, and Venus all in Scorpio move into a grand sextile, which is a much more helpful aspect with Pluto and Jupiter and Neptune this week. So actually, I think this is something that started last week. We're going to continue that this week, pretty much through the rest of the week. Venus and Mercury will move out of it, but the sun will keep it alive. We'll just put it that way. A grand sextile means that planets are working together to help you, so it's not so much creating a challenge. Pluto's focus is on inner trauma, And that's actually kind of interesting. It's your inner trauma. This is pointing towards your inner trauma being helpful to you. It can be. In all honesty, I am very grateful for some of my past traumas because they have made me the person that I am today. And we get to choose whether they make us a good person, a motivated person, or a bad person who's mean to people. And of course, that's not who you are at all. And your past trauma did not make you that way. So, with that being said, what I see coming up with that is situations to where you're dealing with people that you've dealt with before, that could be considered traumatic experiences, but because you know how to deal with them, it's going to make the situation a lot worse, or a lot easier, not worse, a lot easier for you to navigate it. So in a sense, that's actually a really good thing. I'm also picking up this week for you I kind of feel there's a situation around, it's either your husband or your mother. It's one of the sickies, where you're waiting for information and there's a delay in that waiting for information. Very frustrating. You may not even be home when you're waiting for it, which makes it even worse. You're trying to work while you're waiting for this information. I do see a delay in that, maybe a day or so. So, the best thing that you can do is try and manage your frustration as much as possible so that your frustration doesn't completely take over your whole life, if that makes sense. So that's what I have for you. Next week will be better. I apologize. I'm just not feeling very well today. Moving on to my Sagittarians. Ooh, look, I'm almost done already. My Sagittarians. Amanda, we're gonna start with Amanda. We start to have Venus and Mercury moving into Sagittarius. So we are officially starting to have planets moving into Sagittarius now, which is kind of cool. I'm sorry, I have to blow my nose really quick. I'm sick today. Not happy about it, but it is what it is. When you're sick, when you have stuff in your nose and you're talking and it's just moving around, driving you insane. I hate that. And it's only because I've been talking that it's happening, because it was hardly even there through the horoscope recording. We're going to have Mercury and Venus moving into Sagittarius this week. Next week, we officially begin Sagittarius season. So the sun has one more week in Scorpio. And then beginning next week, it moves into Sagittarius. So the party is about to start. Couple of things come up with this, but focus very much on your career this week. I really feel that you've got some creativity going on, some creative ideas, some new things. I kind of see you working with it and you're like, ooh, this would be nice. Ooh, this is gonna be nice. Ooh, I'm really excited about this one. Which is awesome. And to be honest with you, this is not a situation where I have to warn you to slow down either, because I don't see any of this as major changes to what you're doing. This is more like, I kind of feel this is more like additions, like things that you're working towards for goals for next year. Things that you are, going to incorporate into what you're already doing. My only warning is to make sure you take the time that you said you were going to take. And I don't see that time being taken this week, but just take the time that you said that you were going to take. I know you will, but I also feel that, there might be this one thing that comes up that you absolutely can't just put down, jot it down, write it down, and then move on. Enjoy your time. The other thing that's popping up for you, I really feel that this week is like there's going to be circumstances that take place this week where you're just like, okay, that's it, I'm done with this client. I'm playing this fucking game anymore. And there may be a couple of them, maybe not just one, but there may be a couple of them actually that it's not, I'm not seeing like a really rude, just cut them out and ignore them forever. It's more of this is you putting boundaries on your clients and putting stronger boundaries on your clients, specifically the ones that are flaky. They go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and maybe even have a tendency to drive you absolutely crazy. You know what I'm talking about, those ones. And I kind of feel like because you have a couple of vacations coming up and a couple, time off, you're really focusing on next year now, not later, but now. And so this is just you coming up with creative ways to have boundaries with these people so that you have something set in place to deal with this issue from here on out. So it's not quite as frustrating and annoying as it has been in the past. So that's what I have for you this week, Amanda. I'm sorry I can't get more. I'm at the end here and I'm like, let me just get through this and lay down afterwards. Oh, my throat is like killing me now after this. Moving on to Sheri, my friend Sheri. I'm sick. It's all Daniel's fault, I'm sure. But hey, let's not focus on that. I'm just hoping that you guys don't get sick. And I will be texting you later so that you know, so that you don't find out a week later. But yeah. Apparently what Daniel had was contagious because everybody's got it now. So we finally have planets moving into Sagittarius. The party's coming. We are not, of course, starting the party with the sun this week. That does happen next week, but we do have Mercury and Venus moving into Sagittarius. So we're going to start the party a little bit early. And I know you guys love to party, so that's awesome. And we're going to end this week with and begin next week actually with Venus and Mercury in conjunction with each other, perfect conjunction with each other, basically right on top of each other in the same place. That means that in our view from here, one's behind the other one, basically, is what that means. A couple of things for you come out of this. Focus is on career and legacy. There's a couple of things really that come out of this. First of all, one of the things that I see you doing this week is, pardon me, your career is your family and your dad. So I see you actually coming up with creative ways to manage your time, so that you're not feeling like you're pulled in so many different directions. Limit the chaos a little bit, if that's even possible. So that's one thing. I hear somebody talking out there. And I don't think it's Bob. I'm going to pause really quick and then we'll get back to the other thing. Okay, there's a band here. All right. The other thing is I also see creative ways of dealing with your stress. And you sitting down and looking into creative ways of dealing with your stress. And I also want to say you have to get out of other people have more stress than I do, which lessens the importance of your own stress. That is true. You're right. That doesn't mean that what you're going through isn't stressful. Okay. So, you want to omit that part out, just kick it right on out to the curb because it doesn't make any difference in the long run. I see you coming up with more creative ways of managing your stress. I really liked the chakra meditation you were telling me about when we were up there this last weekend. I would love to see you doing that again. But also, maybe looking into other meditations too that might be helpful as well. Breathing exercises to calm down, different things like that. It's just, I mean, honestly, to me, this is more of a healthier focus of dealing with your stress. Now that you are where you are right now, if that makes sense. I mean, it's been almost a year that you've been in the position that you're in, and you've had some time to get used to it. It's always rough getting used to it. But it's more of a trying to find yourself something that works, that's a little bit healthier for you and allows you to continue to focus on what you need to focus on, if that makes sense. So I'm sorry for the interruption and the fact that this is just such a short reading, but we're almost done here and I'm like ready to go. So that's it. I love you. I hope you don't get sick. Moving on to Peg. Hi, Peg. We finally have planets moving into Sagittarius. Not quite the sun. Sorry about this. Really quick. Okay, done with that. Not quite the sun yet. The sun moves into Sagittarius next week, but we do have Venus and Mercury moving into Sagittarius in conjunction with each other, which means they're really helping each other, and focuses on career. So I see a couple of things actually. I mean, I already see you making plans for your career plans for next year and what you're hoping to focus on next year. Venus's creativity is really going to help with that, come up with some new ideas for you. Not necessarily because things are stagnant, but I do feel that stagnation is sort of there, if that makes sense. And so these are ideas that kind of eliminate that stagnation just a little bit, if that makes sense. The other thing that I'm being shown actually is research. Lots of research on maybe some new ideas, career-based ideas as well. So talking to different people. I know that you have worked with other people in the past. I see that as something that may be a possibility coming up in the new year that you are currently working on. There's no challenges. These planets aren't coming up with challenges, which is really good. They will, don't worry, they will eventually, but right now, that's just not in the cards or in the stars, depending on how you want to look at it. So I just see a lot of work going towards that this week. I do see also an opportunity for you to try something a little bit different this week. I'm not sure what it is, and I'm really, really not feeling well today. So that might be why. Or there's also the possibility that I'm not being shown what it is because it should be a surprise to you. It's not something that maybe you need to know about ahead of time, but it is something that's a lot of fun. This is not something that is like, surprise, you've got to deal with a pile of crap today. No, we're not talking about that. This is a little something new that is going to be fun, and it may actually have a lot of influence over your plans for your career moving forward. So That's what I have for you, Peg. I'm not feeling well today. I'm so sorry. Otherwise, I'm sure these readings would be much, much better. And finally, let's move on to Mama Sheri. Hi, Mama Sheri. And I'm sick. How come you're not here to take care of me? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm not that sick, but you're the mama, so I have to be a whiny baby at least for a minute, okay? And then we can move on. All right. We finally got planets moving into Sagittarius. Yay! This week it is Venus and Mercury as towards the end of the week moving into Sagittarius. The sun is still in Scorpio this week. We'll move into Sagittarius right beginning of the week. And actually, these planets are actually moving in without any challenges with any other planets. That is going to change in a couple of weeks, but it will not happen this week or next week. So that's good. At least we have something good to focus on. Venus and Mercury in conjunction with each other coming into your sign towards the end of the week. Venus is all about creativity, and I really feel like and focuses on career. But I feel a lot of creative ideas coming up around you, not just in your career, maybe moving things around in your house, different maybe things that you're getting into, groups. It's sort of like, I hate to use this term because I got so sick of hearing it for the longest time, but it's like finding your tribe in a way. But I don't see you just doing it online. I really see like physical places that you're going to too. So I'm not 100% sure on where that's coming from, but these opportunities do seem to be coming up this week. The other thing that I'm really kind of picking up for you this week is I still see this sort of internal struggle, if that makes sense. You want to do more readings, you want to help more people, but you don't. You take a little step forward and then you take a couple steps back, kind of a thing. Totally okay. My suggestion actually is to balance that out a little bit, and rather than the one step forward and the two steps back, maybe take the step forward but give yourself space. Okay, that way you are establishing times where you can be alone and left to your own devices, but you're also establishing times where you're available to continue to do what you're doing. To be honest with you, your heart wants to help. And yet at the same time, we've dealt with so many people who were a pain in the butt, okay? And we both know who I'm talking about, or the who's I'm talking about, okay? Because there was definitely more than one. We can't let them stop us from moving forward with what we need to do. And while I feel like you're on the fence about how I'm not letting them do that, and I am letting them do that, you are letting them do that. We can't let that happen, okay? There are so many people out there that need your help, and you have to be available to them. That's all there is to it. What you can do is create stronger boundaries to make sure that you don't become a victim to those people again. And that's something that I have done also. So that's what I have for you. I can't talk anymore. It hurts so bad to do it, but I wanted to make sure I got this done. That's all I have for everybody. Thank you so much for just for having patience with me this week. It's just, it's not a great week. I don't have COVID, it's just a cold. I've already tested twice just to be on the safe side. It'll probably be gone in a few days with any luck. So thanks for having patience with me. I'm Melissa Bruce, the right now sicky heavy metal psychic. I am going to go to bed, and I will see you guys next week. Make it a great week, everybody.